Well, we met at the club, and like we said, she walked in the door, and I said to the guy, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And from then on, as we said before, we didn't date right at first because she wasn't old enough. She wasn't but 16.
You weren't my
I was
type.
I know I was on the 17 or 18. I think I was still 17 when we first met.
Yeah.
And then she worked with the lady at the snack bar, Anna. Anna was her
Anna.
name. And she would go home with Anna, and Anna, she would come and go with the thing. Later on, she started waiting tables, and she got another friend that came to work with us named Clara. Clara was her best friend, and she was a carnival. Uh, the carnival went through, and she and her family ran a carnival ride, and so she would be around Trieste at the time at the carnival was there. Then maybe she would
And they moved.
they would move, and they would go to Milan, to Venice, or somewhere else. But Clara was her best friend as a girl, and Clara went with started going with a friend of mine named Sally. Sally's from New Jersey, I think. And
Talk about us. Clara is already in the pictures.
oh, she is. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Anyway,
No,
so we would walk home together sometimes,
but
and
that was a long time after.
after we met.
Before, after the bar closes, they will
Yeah.
let us dance for, before it closed, they will let us dance for about 5 minutes. And that was the time that I didn't like him. And he made it sure to stop because he was jealous. I couldn't even dance for 5 minutes. Remember? Okay. Then we started going together. I
Yeah.
had a lieutenant that wanted to take me out, but I couldn't because the lieutenant is not supposed to come in the
Club,
club with
because
the
it was enlisted men's
men.
club. Hmm.
So the guy that he was in charge, he said, no, you can't go out. So I said, okay, I can go out with him. Then we started talking, and we got used to, I guess, at each other.
Hmm.
And he started, taking me home, like he said before. And of course, like he said, and my mother and father didn't know that he, was going after me. He would just leave me downstairs, and it happened.
It happened.
And here we are.
Yeah, I know. Well, the first thing, I fell in love with her the minute I saw her. Of course, I wasn't about to let her get by. The second thing is that working with the Italian bartender who spoke both English and Italian, I was pick up Italian from him. Then the people, the girls that came to the dances, so by the time, honestly, it didn't take me but about a month. I could carry on a conversation in Italian. I went to one class in Italian, and they gave classes, and I think it's something like 500 lire, which was about $1 at the time. So I decided I would go to class and learn to speak Italian. So I went to the class and was in there for 2 hours in this class. And this professor, he was a teacher down at one of the local universities. And in that 2 hours, I learned how to say io
Oh,
io
God.
ho un gatto. That's I have one cat. And I thought to myself, who the hell that wants to know about cats? I don't know nothing. So, but that's what he taught us to say. Io ho un gatto. Well, io means me, O, and you say O, just means have, Io ho un gatto. Un is one, gatto is cat. So I decided then that taking lessons wasn't going to help me. So I just, listened to her, and picked it up on my own, just from talking to
but,
everybody.
I mean, after we start talking more
Hmm.
and, realize that we like each other, so that's why it
Yeah.
happened. And he was a good man because even my priest loved me. when we went to talk to him about getting married, and I told him he was Protestant, and he said, well, you know, it's better if you marry a good Protestant than a bad Catholic. So that shows you that he liked him too, and my family, they all,
Yeah, but
know.
the language really, it's hard
well,
to,
he
it's,
learned
I
how
understand,
to speak
yeah.
Triestine,
yeah.
which is a
The
dialect.
dialect is still
Yeah.
what I speak Trieste, but it's understood most of it. We went back to Italy many times after I got out of service in '66. We went back and
You went twice.
yeah, a couple of Brandon went with us twice. We started going about every 2 years, and I never had any trouble anywhere in the people in places like Rome and Florence and Naples where they speak, you know, true Italian and all. They would look at me kind of funny at first, and they realized that it was Triestine that I'm
The only
speaking,
place,
and they was
the only
okay.
place that they could tell you were from Trieste was Venice.
Venice,
because
because
they have the same dialect.
they were close. Yeah.
Because every time we would go, my sister and I would go, and they said, "Oh, you from Trieste," and they knew right away. You know.
It's you know, they dialects are
but we
about
don't
the
want
same.
to talk about that.
No, I would learn it so I could talk to her.
Yeah, I
That
didn't
was-
speak
I
English.
was the only-
I did learn something because
Yeah.
when I came to the States, I could understand and, you know,
She
speak.
could understand a little thing.
But he learned quicker because it's easier. Italian is a lot easier than
Yeah,
American.
there's no silent, you know, letters or things like
that
that. in
drives me
Italian.
nuts.
I mean, you speak Italian like it's there, you know, and it's not.
You write it and you
yeah.
speak, you know, you read.
I mean, if you said pneumonia in, you know, it would start with an N, you know, not like we do, you know, like we have this word that's not even pronounced. In Italian, mostly is spoken just like it's written, and once you learn the vowels and all, you're okay.
It took a few months because I worked there for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Something right around there.
And we were already started getting together. And then the sergeant that was in charge had a girlfriend, and girlfriend needed a job, so they let us two girls go so they can come in, you know. And then he used to come home at our house, and that's how I started.
Yeah.
And we would have been married even before I was 18, but we had so much trouble with the paper.
Took so long to get all
so
the
long.
paperwork.
If one expired, then you have to do another one, you know. So, but 18
Yeah, you get a
is
blood
young
test.
enough.
and-
18.
Yeah, I know.
Well, at first, you're talking about, yeah. But then, like I said, when you get to know him,
But why did you decide that I was the one you wanted to be with?
I guess we fell in love. I mean, you know.
That's about it. Honestly, mine was I just got to found it. You know, anytime I wasn't around, or I didn't see her. You know, I really missed her.
It wasn't
And,
really because he wasn't American.
No, it didn't.
I knew he wasn't rich because he used to send his money, you know, half of his money to his mother. So
Yeah.
we didn't have money. So I said, I know he doesn't have a plantation, like he was kidding me.
You kept asking me about
I
peanuts.
know. I kept telling everybody when I came to the States, I didn't see the peanut plantation.
During World War II, they got food from the Americans, you know, I think. And one thing that they had was those cans of planters, Virginia peanuts, you know. So everybody thought that Virginia was just full of
Everybody had a
peanuts because it said, you know, right on there,
No.
Virginia peanuts.
And it wasn't easy for me when I got here because
No, honey,
people weren't, you know, all the men were there, and a lot of them got married, Germany, France, and they kind of had a, you know, they didn't like these girls.
This was in 52 when
Yeah,
we came.
when we first came here.
The war wasn't over very long, and so they kind of resented
They did.
Italian girls
They
marrying
did
Americans.
here in
Yeah,
Lynchburg, I
Yeah,
know.
they did here.
'Cause-
Well, yeah, we're kind of back in the, you know,
and it was hard for me because it was different. I mean, I grew up in a small town, but this city was right there. I used to go swimming every day. We have the ocean over there. And then when you come over here, I mean, and then he went back to Washington where he was stationed, so I was left alone with my daughter, and
Yeah,
that was hard.
that was hard. That was a mistake.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a really good
First 2 years.
first 2 years. Then I got used to.
Yeah.
I had my neighbors. They taught me how to sew, and I had friends. Let's put it that way.
But I thought leaving her here with my mother and all that, that she would learn to speak English quicker.
No, it wasn't
And
that. I
she
think
didn't,
what you didn't know if you
And I
were going
really
to get
didn't know.
out.
Yeah, I didn't know what I
So
was gonna
every
stay
year
in.
you would sign up for another year. Let's try, and then finally, I got pregnant with my son. So I told him I'm not staying here because they only had 2 bedrooms over
Yeah.
there too.
I know.
I said, we have to get out of here. So we moved in Arlington, and I was happy there because
Oh yeah.
I stayed in a housing where there was almost everybody, the girl married with GI, not Italian, but American, and we had a lot of fun.
We always say 2 years, but it
A
really
year
wasn't
and a
that
half.
long. Yeah, probably a year and a half. And by the time we got all of the papers and things finished, it was about a year and a half.
You see, it took us forever to get all the paper
Yeah.
together. Because when they asked me if I ever went anywhere outside Trieste, I said, yeah. I went to visit my grandpa. And they had to stop in every station the train stopped. They had to go to the police, ask
See if
if
her
I had
name
a
was on there.
record or something.
Mhm.
And then by the time we came back, we had to do it over.
Had to do the blood
Take
test
the
again.
blood test over. And then we went to talk to the general and the Catholic priest and the Protestant priest, and they all said
Everybody.
it's not going to last.
Yeah, y'all
Too
too
young.
young.
So,
But we were very fortunate for one thing is we were married in 49, and I didn't know until I went back later that they stopped letting GIs marry Italians in Trieste. You could get engaged and get all the paperwork done, but you had to wait until 2 months before you returned to the States to get married because there was no housing over there. There's no place for you to live, So you could marry, but you had to get all your paperwork done, and then 2 months before you left. So a lot of the girls had to come home by themselves
a lot
because
of
of that.
them,
But
the husband went back to the States
yeah,
and
then
they
they
stayed there.
joined them. Yeah.
Right. My sister did that. She got
Yeah.
married when she was 16. Well, I mean, we just, saw each other as much as we could, and
Yeah,
he used to go to church with me, although sometimes he had a few drinks. And
I didn't.
yes, you did, New Year's.
That was New Year's.
And I chased them out of the church,
Out of the
him and my brother-in-law, because they were both with those red eyes. Oop, I did that. Anyway, just being together, just hoping for the best, hope we get married. Because we
Like I
never
said.
knew about the papers and
Yeah, it was always something going on with them. Like the general I was telling you about, he was company commander, and I know this colonel, depot colonel, had turned us down for marriage. And I went to see Lieutenant Hunt, and I went in and told him, and
he
he told me, he said, let me tell you, Don, said, just hold on to your papers for 30 more days, and I think you'll find something, then bring them in and we'll resubmit them. And what happened was that he already knew the colonel was going to be transferred, so he wouldn't be there anymore. And he knew the new colonel that was taking over the depot, which is like a division there. So he knew him, and he told me, he said, you just wait for that, that month.
Yeah, we were
And I did,
lucky.
and we put them back in, and they approved them. And they finally, her mother, of course, and everybody, they wanted us to get married at the altar in the church, and a non-Catholic is not supposed to get married at that time at the
Now they
altar.
do, but
Sometimes they do, but they're really not supposed to. But anyway, being that the priest knew her family so well, they went down and talked to the local bishop, and he called us to his office, and we went down and talked to him. We talked to him for about an hour. He's a real nice guy, young.
We got married in the church.
Yeah, and he approved
Otherwise,
it.
you would have to get in the sacristy, in the
sacristy.
office.
Kind of like an
They'll-
office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll marry non-Catholic over there, but we got lucky.
Yeah,
We
we got
had
lucky
one.
because the priest had known us for a long time. Oh God, who kissed who? I had to chase her. I mean,
I didn't want to kiss because a friend of mine told me, if you kiss, your tonsil's gonna come out.
she went home and
And I
checked her
believe-
tonsils. She really did. The first time I kissed her, she went home and checked her tonsils.
What an idiot.
Yolanda was, I don't know.
Well, you was the first one, so
Oh
be
yeah,
happy about
I'm goodness, I'm happy about it. I say it's hard for people to believe actually what what we went. There was no sex and anything, not even the mention of it with her. I mean, she was a 16-year-old girl who had been protected so much in her life, that she didn't even know if you
Well,
said.
I wanted my tonsil.
Yeah, you wanted your Thompson. I mean, you say sex to her, it was like another world. So I never, and I respected her so much and really loved her so much that it didn't enter my mind, I'm not saying that I was, a virgin all the time I was in Italy before I met her.
They're
Yeah,
gonna love that.
I love that. Oh, God, I forgot the kids right
I
here.
forgot the kids.
Oh yeah. But
Okay,
anyway,
what's the-
but anyway, I shouldn't have said that, Johanna. You should have stopped a long time. But anyway, once I met her, I stopped going with it. I never went with another woman from the time I met her. She was just my life. And as far as first kiss, we the four of us, Yolanda and I, and Sally and Clara, we were walking home, and we had to stop before we got to her house, so she could go by herself with Clara, and her mother
that was
wouldn't look out
at
the
the
window.
beginning.
That's the beginning.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have kissed. And there's a long driveway into another house, and so all four of us walked up to the driveway, and Sally kissed Clara,
not me.
and so I reached and got her, and she was trying to pull away all the time, and I just kind of wrestled around her neck and kissed her, and she really thought her tonsils were going to drop out because she was been kissed.
You forgot I had a bag in my
You
hand.
did you tried to hit me with the bag. No, but that was but when when you talk about things that this was in the 40s, 46 and 47.
Right.
And they don't, and you're talking about a young Catholic girl that, spent a life in the church, getting up in the morning and going before he, eat breakfast. They had to go to church and go to communion. And she was totally that tied up into that. And of course, her family was the same thing. So she knew absolutely nothing about that. She never dated a boy. She never been out with one. And she's well, in her 80s right now, and this woman's never kissed another man except me. And people listen to that and they can't believe it. But it's honest to God's fact. She's never, except the kids, she kissed them on the cheek. But she never has. And I wonder,
Next question.
why I think so much of her. And that's I wouldn't take anything for her. But that was the first. The first kiss was I had to hold on to her, and she thought she lost her tonsils.
we were coming from church, and my daddy was ready to go out, and my mother said, "Stay, because Johnny's going to ask you something." And they went. We had a room close to the kitchen, so they went in there, and my mother did the talking.
Yeah, she did.
And
She
he
did.
asked him, my mother asked my daddy, said, "Yolanda, Johnny wants to get married," and he said, "No." He said, "Well," she said, "if you don't let her get married, she's going to jump off the third floor, second floor."
Third
And
floor
he
window.
just, thought about it. My sister was already married with an American, so
Yeah.
they figure, I think, well, she's
Yeah.
going to go in the States and they're going to be close, The other one is not going to be alone. So I think that's what he really thought about it. But he did say yes. So after, when we really got engaged, we could go without hiding, because my daddy
Yeah.
used to drive the streetcar, and we used to watch and see if he was the driver, because we couldn't go if he was. So after that, we were just free to go,
If we wanted to.
and that was actually the engagement. I never got a ring.
Yes, you did, but you lost it.
No, that wasn't a ring.
Oh, that wasn't an engagement ring.
No,
It
that
was just a ring.
Just a ring.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like
But that,
said,
I,
you didn't have money.
I guess that, that was when we got engaged. We actually were engaged before we could go out together, by ourselves. But I never asked, just came out and said, will you marry me? And we just.
No, you didn't ask
No.
me, but you asked
I
my
asked
mother
your-
to do the asking.
I had, your mother.
Yeah, my mother.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what I
talking
said.
about you, not your father.
No.
But I think we both loved each other, and we just knew we were going to get married. That was it. I didn't see any use in, asking. There wasn't any question about it. Yeah. Laura was
For
one.
him,
The Man I Love, Laura, and Jealousy.
those were
There were
his
three.
songs. Mine was
Quarter
Quarter,
Napolitano. Yeah.
which I still listen on
Yeah.
every
that's-
day.
But the band leader in the club that we worked at, the piano, oh God, he was good.
Okay, tell him about the song.
Yeah, that's what I said. When we would come in, we had dances on Wednesday and Saturday nights. It was dances, and no matter when we walked in the door, whatever he was playing, he would stop, and he would play Laura, The Man I Love, and
Quarter
Quarter Napolitano for us,
Means,
and,
people from Naples
people.
heart.
Yeah.
It's a really pretty song if you know
It is.
Italian.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes in English, but he always stopped and played those three songs for us. And his brother was a concert pianist in Trieste. He played with the orchestra, the Trieste Symphony Orchestra, and I love piano music. I still do. I think it's the greatest. And he knew it, so he invited me down to his house and to meet his brother. And I went down, and if you know Italian houses, some of them, the one room as big as all of this, and this piano was over in the corner. And I went in, and he had me sit down, and so I went in and had this big chair like that one open, and I sit down in the chair, and I'm sitting there wondering what's going on. And the door opens, and here comes this guy walking in, with tails, and he come
He was
walking.
really like a
he was
professional.
he was, and he
Nice.
walked in, and he walked over to the piano, and he sit down, and he played Rhapsody in Blue. I guess he figured I had to be a Gershwin because I was, I was American. And I really didn't. I wasn't that great about that one. I would have loved Jealousy a whole lot better, But he sat there and played and got through. He got up, bowed, walked out, and that was the end of it,
Yes.
And
I wanted to impress you.
wedding day was beautiful. It's just so many things happen.
No study.
No idea.
No,
Okay.
because troppo.
Cos'è troppo? No, allora va subito. On our wedding day, she said, don't tell him because it's too long, but it's not that long. I stayed the night before. I had to stay at her house because we're going to church. Got up early in the morning, and the first thing they gave me was a drink. The Italians, you don't go to church and you don't get married unless you have a shot of grappa. And grappa is, honest to God, unless you like it,
strong.
it's the strongest stuff it ever made. And so I had grappa. Then we went to church, and the church was people all over the place because everybody knew her, and all of the people from the adjoining villages that knew her mother were there too. So it was just totally packed. We barely got in, but anyway, we got in, got married, went home, and all of these friends of her sisters and everybody else was there. So here we were celebrating, and we had planned on leaving about 2 o'clock and going to Venice for the honeymoon. The first thing happened, one of the women got so drunk that she went crazy, and she started crying and bawling and carrying on, and we finally got her quieted down enough to her husband to get her out, and then turn around, and here's a woman in labor that's starting to have her baby, and I was the only one that had a car. I had rented it from a friend of mine. I had to put her in the car, take her down to Trieste, to the hospital to have the baby and wait. We got out of home.
So we got in
we got
at midnight.
We got out about 10 o'clock.
It was only
and,
2 hours.
2 hours.
Away, 2.5.
So by the time we got to Venice, it was midnight. I got the car parked. We got out and we walked down to the. If you've never been